Um, we should be able to. You're talking about the boxes?
Yeah, Robert, can you stop sharing your screen?
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah. Can staff would just kind of explain the meeting format quickly for the public?
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So yes, today's housing subcommittee meeting is being conducted via virtual meeting only because of the shelter-in-place order. But as you can see on the agenda, the meeting's being live streamed via Facebook, YouTube, and the city website. And public comments can be submitted via this online form, as you can see from the link over there. And this online form will be active during the meeting. It will be staying open. And as we receive those, staff will be reading out those comments during that public forum section. So, okay, I'll turn this over back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, call to order and roll call. So I'm here, Councilmember Carmen Montano,
And I'm here. Bob
Okay.
Nunez.
Good. So let the record show that both of the subcommittee members are here. Let's do a pledge of allegiance. You can stand up and do a virtual flag. I'll go ahead and lead it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so that's done. Approval of agenda. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
And I second that. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so it is approved for April 16, 2020 agenda. Now we're going on to approval of minutes for the February 25th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and so it is approved unanimously. Okay, now we are on to public forum. So I will read our script that we have to the public. And it is interested public members may provide comments to the subcommittee on any subject not on the agenda by submitting written comments via the city website. Comment entries will only be available during the meeting. Commenters may state their name and address for the record and limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less, which is approximately 300 words or less, or the amount of time as designated by the chair. City staff will monitor the comments and read aloud the comments during the meeting at the approval of the chair. This meeting will be conducted with professionalism. Profanity or vulgar language is not to be read. As an unagendized item, no response is required of the subcommittee or the city staff. However, the subcommittee may request staff to agendize the item for a future meeting. And I think is the URL's address up there so they could see if they want to?
Yes.
Okay, so they can see it. Okay, that's the
Yes. It's on
HTTPS.
the screen.
All
Correct.
right. Okay, so
Yep.
anyone from the public?
At this time,
Yeah.
at this time, there are
Yeah.
no
We're
public.
monitoring.
Let's have one person at a time, please. So let's have Sharon. Sharon, did you say something?
Yeah. No, I said no. Robert and I are monitoring the inbox. So Robert, go ahead.
At this time, there are no public comments.
All right, thank you so much. Vice Mayor, should we wait a minute, 2 minutes, or just move on?
I think we can just move on. If staff's ready, we should just go right to
Okay.
the
The business
reports.
items? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to item number 6, business items. So let's do a staff report on COVID-19 response efforts.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Montano and Vice Mayor Nunes. Our team has been very busy working on COVID-19 response efforts. So I'll just give a quick highlight, and then Adam Marcus from our team, he's going to share the details. So we've been working on resource update on our city website, and you'll see that being pulled up in a second. We've been also working with many other public agencies and nonprofit agencies in collaboration. For example, Project Sentinel and Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, they'll be on the call also to help answer any questions. And we've been partnering with them to help serve the Milpitas residents. And there's also region-wide and county-level collaboration also. So I'm going to turn this over to Adam.
Great, thanks, Sharon, and good afternoon, Vice Mayor and Council Member and everyone else who's on the call. My name's Adam. I work with Sharon and Robert and Sarah in the Housing Division. So as you know, things have been changing quite rapidly. And so the partnerships that Sharon mentioned really are helping us keep up with the daily changes that are happening across the county in different cities. A couple of the forums that we've been participating in, one of them is the CDBG coordinator call, which is all the housing planners in the county, and that's convened by the county, and that's been very helpful to understand how they're looking at things, not just from their funding perspective, but also just some of the policies they're adopting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The Cities Association, as you know, recently came together. So again, a different set of housing planners, or I should say land use planners, are also meeting and discussing the COVID response. In terms of the nonprofit SB at Home, they developed recently a policy platform for some of the higher level changes at the state and federal level to try to bring forward uniform responses rather than sort of piecemeal responses here and there. So with that, I wanted to highlight two resources. The first one being SiliconValleyStrong.org, which I think Robert's going to pull up in just a minute. If you haven't seen this page, it's really full of great resources, and they keep adding to it every day. As you know, this is led by the City of San Jose in partnership with the county, schools, nonprofits, private partners, churches. You know that Renee Lorenzen and Alex Andrade are the city's representatives to that initiative. And it's just a really great website, lots of resources, information about health information, how to stay healthy, information for seniors, groceries, meals, coping with isolation, financial help in terms of rent and mortgages and employment, mental health services, how to donate, volunteer, and support local business, and of course, help for families in terms of meals, helping kids cope, learning tools, distance learning tools, and other things. So just a great website to kind of keep an eye on because it keeps changing and they keep adding to it.
Is that is that on our that link on our website? The cities? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then flipping to our webpage, this is the Housing Resources webpage, and we've been as we learn about things, we keep adding to it. And as you can see, the first several resources are related to financial assistance for rent. So there's a countywide program that's being administered by Sacred Heart. There's a link to our own Milpitas pilot rent relief program in partnership with the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center. There's also a couple of resources in regards to homelessness prevention. So the nonprofit Life Moves is part of the Emergency Assistance Network, and they offer similar services. There's information on the county's ban on evictions and through the end of May, which could get extended. We're just keeping an eye on that. And Project Sentinel is on the phone as well. If you have specific questions about that and how that's been going, they've been helping with outreach on that and education. There's links relating to unemployment insurance, disability insurance, caregiving, childcare, mortgage relief for homeowners who aren't able to make their payments. Rebuilding Together, another nonprofit, is also available to do emergency repairs. And again, as we get more resources, we'll continue adding them.
Can I ask you a
Um,
question, a quick question? Are we the only city providing mortgage relief to some of those families that are struggling to make their mortgage payment?
Robert, excuse me. Robert, did you want to field this one? This is, I think, more of a rent relief.
Or actually, just keep going, and then I'll ask Robert, and then Robert, just keep that in mind, and then after he's done, you can chime in and.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's actually the end of. I'm pretty much done. I just wanted to share those two resources, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. And so just a couple, and they're more about the formatting. I think we've done quite a bit, and I'd be interested in your question, you know, things that we're doing different than other cities, but also this is our website, correct?
Yeah.
Adam? Okay.
Yeah, it is. This is our
and
website.
If we could add, because it's a lot of words, if we could add some pictures and persons that we have helped and statements they have made. I mean, just 10 seconds worth of a snippet, especially in Vietnamese and Spanish, so that it looks a little more, it adds a little human element to it, I think.
Okay.
I think we're doing some really great stuff, and persons, if they see this many words, might just skip by it.
Okay.
And that's just my opinion. I think we're doing some really great stuff. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I tend to agree with the Vice Mayor, because when I first saw that, it just kind of turned me off because so many words, the words are small. There's no, it's not really inviting, or it doesn't have any pictures. Maybe we can improve on it. And I noticed on the COVID-19 assistance programs, you have on the second bullet, it has an English flyer and a Spanish flyer, but I think we're missing the Vietnamese one. Yeah, or I don't know if your work still work, as I think I heard last time we were working on it, because it's different. It's characters. You're using characters instead of letters. Or
Okay.
oh no,
Because
actually,
again,
never mind. I think that was Chinese. Okay, yeah, just work on the Vietnamese one. But it looks it's very informative, and I wanted to yeah, I like your presentation, and I think it needs some character. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Those are my comments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Council Member.
You're welcome.
Okay. If I may, was Bob Robert gonna come back and answer that question that the chair had?
Yeah, I think so. After he's done.
Oh, his part. Okay, thank you.
Bob. I mean,
Yeah.
Robert,
The next item is.
I think Robert was going to answer that question.
Yes. So if you could remind me of the question, I believe it was, are we providing mortgage assistance, or are we the only city providing mortgage assistance? Was that the question?
From my understanding, we are, because we included that as part of our service, being a service provider in that. We included that at our last meeting, because you know, even though just because you own a home and have them doesn't mean that you're, you know, well off, because there's some people will live paycheck by paycheck, and they have emergencies too. So I think we include that. Just to refresh my mind, Bob, Vice Mayor, we did include that, right?
Yes, I recall that, and I looked at the very last line there where it says pilot rent relief program flyer. If as I listened to your question, which I would like to see if it also is rent relief and mortgage payment relief program. Have we done any? Because we had talked about that, and are we the only one doing that?
Can you move that up higher? Because I can't move it up. It only ends on Emergency Assistance Network. On the screen that.
Where would you like to move it?
Oh yeah, move it up. Yeah, so I could see what else is on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, yeah, and a one-time, yeah, it says one-time mortgage. Okay. So anyway, if you
So,
can,
let me
continue.
clarify on the rent relief piece. So at our report to city council, we did mention, and to the subcommittee as well, we did mention that there were a few applicants that requested mortgage assistance under the emergency hardship category. The subcommittee agreed that that would be a appropriate use of the funds in the emergency hardship category. And the direction of council was to come back with the suggestions for all of the changes to the program that we didn't anticipate when we first started it because it was a pilot program, and then to get those changes approved at the council level. But yes, mortgages was something that was allowed through the emergency hardship category. And to the question of whether we are one of the only ones doing that, I believe that in general with rent relief, we were sort of the first at the table with something of that comprehensive in nature to assist that many people. I think that Milpitas was probably leading the pack on that one. So we're very fortunate to have had that program established already, because what we're seeing now is all of these other cities are rushing to put together a similar program to catch up with the demand for rental assistance and obviously other types of assistance.
That's great. That's good news. Yeah, so of those people, so do we still, this item still has to go to the city council for approval, or we've already implemented that in there?
We are essentially allowed to do, sorry, try to do two things at once here. We are allowed to assist in situations with mortgages under the emergency hardship category. So what we're waiting on is we have some other changes that we need to discuss with the city attorney, just to make sure that we can use those funds for those purposes. And then once we have those items researched, we will come back to this body for your direction, and then to the city council for final approval, so that we can implement them into the rent relief program. So if, for instance, you wanted to change the name of the program, that would be something that we could do either at this body or at the council level. I'd have to defer to Sharon and the city attorney on that. But that is my understanding.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any way we can streamline that or move it as quickly as possible? Because because of the situation with COVID-19, nobody anticipated this emergency, and it's having a huge impact, a ripple effect or domino effect on everything. So if we can make it go faster, just streamline it.
So if
Yeah.
I may, Chair.
Yes.
So if I understood you correctly, Robert, we can move ahead with the mortgage assistance. That was approved on whatever basis, early adoption basis, but we need to bring everything back at some point to get all the changes approved. But the dealing with the mortgage inclusion was approved, correct? Is that what you said?
There
If I
wasn't a
can
formal
jump in a
approval.
little bit.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, sorry, Robert. I was just jumping a little bit, kind of follow up on what Robert had explained earlier. All these criteria, we'll work with Chris closely so that we can look at all the changes as a result of COVID-19, essentially, and then move that forward as quickly as we can. So go ahead, Robert. I'll turn it back to you.
Go ahead, Robert.
No, that summarized it very well. We believe that we didn't anticipate mortgages being an issue when we initiated the pilot rent relief program, right? As evidenced by the name of the program. But it became obvious that there were emergency mortgage needs for certain individuals, such as seniors, that came to our attention, and on a case-by-case basis, we determined that those particular needs those particular people were in need of emergency relief. And so when we reported that to this body, you both agreed and that's why we feel that we can assist folks moving forward with specific types of mortgage needs. Now, COVID wasn't something that we talked about at those prior meetings, as you just mentioned, Councilmember Montano, but it is an issue now. And so as we, the next agenda item has the rent relief update and approach. I have some more information on that piece. If we'd like to just kind of move the agenda item along, I'm happy to give you that report.
Okay, I just wanted to make one last comment on that. And the reason why the Vice Mayor and I decided that it would be a good thing is because if people lose their homes, they will become homeless. So this is just a way to make sure that they are kept in their home. So that was just to let the public know that was the rationale behind that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we can move on to the next item. Thank you.
Okay, let me work some magic here. Multitasking.
Yep. So the next item, you kind of heard, from Robert already. Our team's been working very hard on our rent relief program and just finding ways to assist all of our residents. So, okay, he's got the arrow now, so I'll turn it over back to Robert. He has a lot of updates to share.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so as you all know, we've had a very, very challenging month with COVID-19 and its impact on the community. Again, as I mentioned in the previous agenda item, I think we're very fortunate that this body had created this program so that at some level we were prepared to take on some of the brunt that the community was feeling and be able to allocate funds and again, I should mention that this body did that twice in its first incarnation of the program and just recently at the March 3rd council meeting where you appropriated an additional $100,000 for this fund. And so at the moment, we have used $95,727. And a lot of that has come recently as a result of the COVID-19 response to the community and their needs. 11 clients have approached us and 7 have been funded to date. And we measure that against what's happening regionally. So in the previous update, Adam had mentioned Sacred Heart and their regional effort to help with rental assistance and other things. The regional fund had $11 million and they went through that fund in 4 days. And
can I ask you what their cap is?
I actually don't have that information,
okay.
but I can search it. I believe it's $3,000. I believe their cap was $3,000. But I don't know how they allocate those costs.
Right,
what level their admin fee is, all that. I can get that information for you, council member.
So okay, thank you. And so you're saying that they went through that how much was it?
$11 million.
11 million in how many days?
4 days.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you guys have a copy of their questionnaire, or do you guys have the same?
So
anyway, I'll let you keep going.
No. I mean, you're right on it. So what we did was we reached out to Destination Home, who partnered with Sacred Heart, and they were collecting all of the data on all of the people that applied. And so we're in the process of getting all of the information. What they were able to share was that 394 individuals from Milpitas applied for assistance. And then they broke it down into, oh man, I just had it. I just lost it. They broke it down to 394 people requested assistance. And I believe.
The current list is, I think it's 141.
There we go.
And the wait list is 250 something.
Yes, thank you, Sharon.
With the Destination Home or Sacred Heart?
That would be Destination Home in partnership with Sacred Heart.
Oh, they're a partnership. Okay.
Yeah. So we wanted to at least be able to report on the amount of people that came over and requested assistance. And so what we discussed was we're working on, so they're working on the initial 140 they're looking to, so they broke it down between 141 and 253. The 141 are those that they're going to attempt to qualify with the fund, with the $11 million fund. The 253 are on an interest list, and they're determining how many of those they could fund at this time. And so we're working together to identify folks that we can then move over to the rent relief program and assist as well. With the understanding that just because we have rent relief doesn't mean that they're not going to fund anybody, that we're going to work in partnership to fund as many individuals as possible with their funds and our funds.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
Robert, I was just filling a little bit from their program website. Eligible households will receive financial assistance up to $4,000 a
4,000.
month. Yeah.
Thank you.
4,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's when 4,000 a month, that's kind of high. And I don't know if, was this 4,000 that we decided, the city council?
No,
Or is that something that
that's
they-
their program. They determined all of the criteria. Yeah, this was completely done by them.
Okay. And so what about the funding that we provide them? Does it go in like in a pot and Destination Home and what's the name of that? Sacred Heart? They distribute it, they decide who gets what?
So
Is that how it works?
I believe these funds came from private donations. This was not a
City?
community and city investment. This all came from private donation.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they-
a list of high-tech firms that had contributed.
okay.
So understandably, at the point that I realized that they were oversubscribed and they were essentially out of the $11 million that they spent it in 4 days, I posed a question to the team, and I'm going to pose the same question to this body as well, in that we created the rent relief program, as the vice mayor mentioned in the last agenda item, that we created to keep people housed. I'm sorry, both of you mentioned this, to keep people housed, right, and prevent them from becoming homeless. And so at the moment, we have an eviction moratorium in place, and nobody that can't pay their rent in April or May is going to be evicted at the moment, because everything is on hold.
Right.
And so my concern after seeing that the Sacred Heart spent $11 million in 4 days is that I want to have funds ready when people are actually at risk of becoming homeless, and
Yeah,
not
I get that.
necessarily be spending those funds now for individuals that may get their jobs back or may not get their jobs back. I don't feel like we have enough information to keep proceeding with rent relief in its current format. And I look around, other cities are scrambling to create these programs. Redwood City put in over $1 million. Mountain View put in $600,000 or $700,000, and I think they're rushing to, plug a leak, and they don't realize how big the flood is, and so I think for us, and I pose this to the group, and I'll pose it to you. I would recommend, or at least would like to have the conversation about sort of pausing on rent relief from the standpoint of still having people come and apply, still having people come and request the assistance, but until we know how the state or the federal government is going to react, we don't know who is going to be most impacted from the evictions that are going to come, because it's going to happen. There's going to be a very difficult time for some individuals who don't get to go back to work to then start paying their rent and pay the back pay in rent that they're now supposed to pay back. And so I just feel like, from a housing perspective, our goal and your goal is to keep as many people housed as possible. And at the moment, the eviction moratorium prevents them from becoming homeless. So my question to you is, given that information, how would you like us to proceed with rent relief?
Yeah,
So
go ahead, Vice Mayor, if you have a comment or question.
yeah, so first, thank you for all of that information, Robert. I think it puts it in perspective. And I think the dollars you first talked about, the 11 million, really, if I'm not mistaken, being spent in 4 days, that was the initial dollars that came to Silicon Valley Strong. That's how I kept listening to those dollars described. And the dollars that came in the second wave didn't equal that same amount. So having said that, what I'm also reading is that persons that are applying for rent relief, not all of them are qualifying, because you do have to be able to prove that it is you're not being able to pay your rent because of COVID-19. And I've heard some stories of persons that couldn't do that for whatever reasons. It didn't match the reasons that were being accepted, or the timelines didn't match up. So I do agree that we want to keep persons in their homes. I think the chair has been clear on that issue, and I support that. And if there's a way that the federal government and or these other dollars are going to allow them to not pay their rent right now because they can't, I think that's good. But I think those that, for whatever reason, still can't pay their rent right now, we should be able to look at them and say, what can we do for them? Because they don't meet the criteria for the COVID-19, number one. Number two, I'm trying to make sure we fully understand if this other group, if their criteria is the same as ours. Are they matching up so that we would know if in fact, because they are being disallowed either under ours or the federal government, would they be disallowed under destination home or not? So I do agree that we need to keep looking at it, with the ultimate goal being that they not be displaced. And I think looking at the many different ways now that they're available, that's available to them, is going to take more work by those persons doing that kind of review for us.
Okay.
Hopefully that made sense, Robert.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Do you want my opinion now? So,
Yes, I always want your opinion.
okay, so so with that 11 million, you're saying that this was Destination Home and Sacred Heart, and that was already done in 4 days. It was already exhausted in 4 days. So with and right now the county has a moratorium, and I think the state does too. But the county, so people cannot be evicted, but at the same time, I don't want. I want to make sure that renters know that it still is their duty. It is their duty that they still have to pay their rent no matter what. That's that's just the way it is. Even though, but right now there's a law that they don't have to. They cannot be evicted, right?
Yes. So the messaging from the county and the state is consistent with what you're saying. Is that if you have the ability to pay your rent, pay your rent. It's still your obligation to pay rent. This isn't a rent freeze. This is just a delay in being evicted for the payment of rent due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. So they will be housed. They can still stay in their home. They just will, but they still have a duty to pay the rent. It doesn't have to be now, but it can be later. With our rent relief, I tend to agree with Robert, since you have been working with in this field for I think you said over 15 years, and since the county has a moratorium now, people will be we have that safety net, so they will not be evicted. And then I think after that moratorium is over, then that's when we could see we can see about helping those that really need help. And then I'd also be interested in seeing what does their questionnaire look like? What are the criteria? So these are all, this is something that I'd like for you to come back and see what was their questionnaire. I just want to make sure people don't take advantage. And that's one of the problems when you I understand there are people that are really in need, but there are those that do take advantage of the system, and that's not right. And so I just want to make sure that our criteria when we give not give, but when we allocate funding to our service providers, which is Independent Living Center and Project Sentinel, that they meet, that these people that are applying meet that criteria, and that they truly are, because they have to prove, I'm sure that they have to prove that they do not have the funds. And so what does that entail? Does that entail that they have to show that they have unemployment? Does it show that that a letter from their company that they're laid off? So, all these things I'd like to know.
And just to answer that question, council member, yes. So we, early on in the process, we pivoted and started requesting anybody requesting emergency hardship due to COVID-19 that they provide us some sort of documentation showing that they are experiencing a hardship due to the COVID-19. So we've been getting a variety of different types of proof, whether it's an actual letter from the employer saying you'll be furloughed or laid off, or a personal email communication between an employer saying until further notice there's no work available for you, those types of things. So we are getting a some sort of proof for COVID-19 related assistance.
Okay, you said email. Shouldn't it be a handwritten, because it has to have a signature? It has to be, because anybody can write an email.
Understood. If it's from the employer and it's a large company, that sort of thing.
Okay.
SBI.
You do your due diligence in that.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. We are doing due diligence.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I do know that in listening to Congressman Thoreau, and one of the things he said is that there is a bill that he signed on to that is going to extend the time for small businesses to get apply for loans and things of that sort. I don't recall him saying that for these kinds of things for individuals. So do you know if that's happening? Is Congress looking at extending the timelines for rent relief, for unemployment benefits, things of that sort?
I believe so. I
Okay.
have news today, but I know that, as municipalities across the country are getting more information, they're starting to extend out shelter-in-place orders. And so by virtue of that, I know that Congress has started talking about, the next phase of any kind of stimulus package. We can get more specific details for our next subcommittee meeting if the subcommittee would like.
Yeah, and I'll add that there are groups that are working. If those reforms aren't in place yet, they're pushing for them. So the National Low Income Housing Coalition nationally, and then SB at Home here regionally has a policy platform we can share with you that gets at some of those. They're trying to do this in a more uniform way, not just one city here, one city there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And forgive me, Vice Mayor, I had one last thing. I do know, I did read today that the Payment Protection Plan funding has been depleted. So for small businesses under the current payment protection plan funding, they're no longer accepting, Small Business Administration is no longer accepting applications. So that's where I heard that they're talking about the next phase of that.
Yeah,
Good.
we heard
Yeah.
that too. Well, I heard it too at the
Okay.
webinar today.
Yeah.
All right.
Dollars go quick.
I know they do. That's why we have to be mindful and really make sure that it's, you know, it goes to the right people that really, really need it.
Right.
And
So-
that's why I would like to concur with your proposal, Robert, about putting the rent relief on hold till after the moratorium is over. But in addition to that, I would like to make sure that landlords, which I don't think they will, can increase the rent. Not at this time. Any landlords that do that, it's just so unconscionable. So I don't know what we can do about making sure that our landlords in our city cannot raise the rent during that time, even though there is a moratorium. I don't feel it's right. It's just not. It's not conscionable that they should do it. It's just not right that they do that. But I don't think we might get one or two. But I think people have more conscience, have a moral compass, and won't do that. But you never know. But just in case, I'd like to see something. I would like to see
Yeah.
something.
So
That,
council
So-
member,
that-
excuse me.
that I would like to see something that does not allow an increase in rent.
So I would like to believe our chair that persons aren't like that. I would like to believe that. So Robert, I agree. If we can put something together, I'm all for it. But I would like to know that's something that we can do, because I always know that there's going to be at least one person that tries that. So if you could look into that, I think that would be great.
Yeah. I think the city of Santa Clara already has. They're pushing for that. And I think maybe San Jose too. I think they started with San Jose. It's not a all it is just putting a block to raise somebody's rent right now, and not at this time. That's all. And it's just temporary. It'll still go back to the one that the state says they have
So,
the right to do.
we
So we can look into that.
yes, ma'am. So that was actually going to be my next talking point. So thank you guys both for bringing that up. We're all in sync today, even though we're not in the same room. That's good. We have heard some reports that landlords are still increasing the rent, and so as a suggestion to this body, we're gonna ask you guys to look into to give us direction to look into that a little further and see if there are ways that we can put a moratorium on rent increases during the pandemic. I know that I believe we've done a little research on some other cities, and so we do have some precedent, but we can return to the subcommittee with a more formal presentation on that and update you. But I do know that some other cities have already done that, and I believe it's something that we can accomplish. And I won't digitally stare at the city attorney through the screen, but I believe it's
Yeah, all it is not allowing the landlords to raise the rent. That's all.
Yes. Yeah, and I think the city attorney has kind of looked into some of this already, so we'll work with him closely. And I just want to let the group know, we did receive one public comment that seems more related to this item. So I can read that. This is from Tiffany Wong, 1711 Clear Lake Avenue. And here's her comment. Even before the COVID-19 outbreak, many Milpitas families were already severely rent burdened, living paycheck to paycheck, and on the brink of eviction and homelessness. Temporary foreclosure and eviction moratoriums will require homeowners and renters to pay back debts accrued while they could not work. For those who have been laid off, this essentially means a delayed eviction or foreclosure because the amount they owe will be huge. The only comprehensive solution to protect renters and homeowners is to suspend and forgive mortgage and rental payments immediately and through the duration of this crisis, including a recovery period after the shelter-in-place order is lifted. So that's one comment.
All right, yeah, from my understanding, it is unconstitutional. We cannot, we cannot take property owners' rights. So that's, it's in the Constitution, so our city attorney has already looked into that, so. Anyway, just make that comment.
Could I ask one thing also? Robert, are you going to bring this back to our next meeting? Is that what you would do?
If that's the direction I'm given, then yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to know when we're going to see it next. And so whenever that is, hopefully sooner than later. But one of the things I think I sent this article to you and to Steve, the Apartment Owners Association worked in some county to actually put together a program that did exactly this, so that they weren't on the opposite side. And so if you could dig out that article, because maybe we could work with the Apartment Association, Owners Association, and it would work out and to the benefit of everyone involved, both the landlords and the renters. I just can't remember off the top of my head when I sent that, but I think it was maybe 3 months ago, something like that.
I'll look for it, yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so is there a direction to, can you repeat what would you would like, Robert, again, in so many words?
Okay, on the first piece, it was a temporary suspension of rent relief, so we could best prepare for when the community is really going to be needing the rent relief. So just a modified approach to rent relief is what we'll call it. So that just gives a wide berth of direction.
Okay, then that's it. So I would like to move that, have staff to look into that. Is that
I'll second
fine?
that.
Okay, so we decided, and I also agree with that. So let's, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so we'll move that forward. Oh, we all agreed. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay,
And then
okay.
Just to be clear, you want staff to look into the possibility of a rent freeze and bring that back to the next subcommittee meeting, correct?
Correct. That just, yeah, for the rent,
Yeah.
no rent increases are allowed until further notice or till.
Yeah. And hopefully that won't take very long to bring it back to us.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Okay, item, we're on item C, right? Homeless
Yeah.
response efforts.
Yes. For homeless response efforts, first I'll mention something that's a little more specific to Milpitas, and then I'll turn over to Adam to share more about our regional response efforts. So last week on April 7th, the County Board of Supervisors at their board meeting had discussed a referral item to their administration to consider a temporary homeless shelter program at one of the county-owned property that's north of PRC Honda in Milpitas. So the city has submitted a comment letter requesting for adequate space and process for community outreach and engagement, and in asking for city-county collaboration to explore alternative sites and solutions. And at the meeting, the Board of Supervisors had received, written comments and also heard a lot of public comments. And their decision was to direct their county staff to work together with city staff to study other sites and even other models to help the homeless community. And this could include transitional housing, not just temporary COVID-19 housing, and to really study this portion of the county to understand the needs. So last week, city staff and county, we've already connected to try to set up a time for a meeting. We're just trying to align our schedules, but city and the county staff, we're working in collaboration to do this research and to explore alternative sites, and we can work together to look for a solution for the unhoused community. So that's an update on that item. And then I'll turn over to Adam to share more about the regional homeless response efforts.
Sure, thanks, Sharon. And I'll try to be brief because I know we're getting towards the end of our hour here. Lots going on, especially at the county level and the city of San Jose. They've both been taking kind of outsized sort of organizer roles for a variety of different approaches. What I wanted to do was just read out some of the different initiatives that the county, San Jose, but also other cities around our county are doing, and then end with a couple of comments about some of the gaps that still remain. In other words, some of the areas where additional resources could be used. So really briefly, one of the first things that was done was to suspend the abatement of homeless encampments. It was felt that dispersing homelessness encampments was not helping with the COVID containment. It wasn't in the best interest. So they did suspend those, at least in San Jose and in other parts of the unincorporated county. In terms of outreach, Valley Homeless Healthcare Program and Gardner Health Services are out in the field identifying individuals, screening people who have 3 or more risk factors. Medical providers, backpack doctors are going out to encampments and shelters and community-based organizations multiple times a week and sharing information about COVID-19. Early on, people didn't even know what it was. Several weeks after everyone else did, because they may not have access to the internet or to the TV news. So they had, multilingual flyers. They continue to do that outreach to people to make sure they're aware of what's happening and some of the risks and how to protect themselves. And of course, the county is prioritizing sheltering for at-risk individuals. In terms of health and hygiene, San Jose, Mountain View, Gilroy have installed hand washing, sanitation stations, toilets, and garbage pickup at larger encampments. They've also selectively kept park bathrooms open 24/7 so that people can have access to water as well as bathrooms, because places of respite like libraries are closed. So that's been a real issue with access. Dignity on Wheels, they run a trailer or several trailers where they offer bathroom, showers, laundry. They have a new trailer that also does health assessments and allows for people to charge their cell phones and other things. In terms of emergency shelters, all of the seasonal shelters are remaining open. They've been redesignated to allow for social distancing, so there's more space between the beds. Safe parking sites, instead of being only for nighttime, are now open 24 hours a day. They've been setting up new shelters. There's one at the fairgrounds. There's 2 at San Jose's Convention Center, and several community centers have been modified to allow to become shelters. There's a hotel master leasing program that's part of Governor Newsom's Project Room Key program. The state program rented out 7,000 hotel rooms so far, and they're working on getting a total of 15,000 statewide, specifically for people who have been infected by COVID and who need a place to recover and isolate. Part of that state program is to offer first right of purchase for those hotels, so that when the COVID crisis is over, there's an option to continue to house the people who are housed there. And so that's another sort of medium-term element that some cities are looking at. I think Anaheim is one of those. FEMA is reimbursing 75% of the cost for the hotel master leasing, and the state is paying for the other 25%.
So who
Santa
do they
Clara
pay?
County has a
So you say FEMA is helping with that, but who do they pay? Is it the cities or the county?
I think I'll have to double check, but from what I understand, the hotel, at least in Santa Clara County, it's running through the county's continuum of care. So I believe the county is keeping their records so that they can get reimbursed by FEMA and by the state.
Okay, county. Okay, thank you.
And Santa Clara County has 172 rooms. 105 people are residing in those rooms as of the 1st of this month, and they'll be continuing to move people there. So far, every homeless resident in the county who has tested positive for COVID has been housed. And then lastly,
how many are those? How many are those? The
I
number?
don't have a number. I was looking at a press release from the county, and they didn't give an exact number, but
Okay,
they did say that everyone who's been tested positive is either in a trailer or a hotel room.
okay.
You know, they're not in shelters, so you know they're testing to make sure if you're in a shelter, they pull you out quickly and isolate you so that you can recover and other people aren't infected. In terms of trailers, the state purchased 1,300 trailers, both from FEMA, but also from private vendors. A little over 100 went to the city of San Jose, and then another, I think 105 went to the county over at the fairgrounds. And so those have been set up along with some of the exhibit halls for shelter for that. And then to end on this section,
Can I ask you a
some of the-
question? I'm sorry to ask you, I'm just curious.
It's
So
okay.
out of those
Go ahead.
1,300 trailers, you said that San Jose has 105 and there's another 100 for the county. That's only 205. So where are all the other 900 or something trailers?
They're going all over the state. Yeah, they're going to San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles.
Okay.
You know, yeah, statewide.
Oh, so it's statewide. Okay. I thought it was
Statewide,
county.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, statewide. Yeah, statewide. And in terms of just sort of ongoing needs, you know, the county is asking for more places to set up shelters. So, you know, whether that's exhibit halls, community centers. I think the vice mayor shared an example from Anaheim of commercial space being converted and managed by the Salvation Army to create shelter space. So there is a call countywide for any additional sites, and the county can offer assistance in setting those up and staffing them. There's, you know, in terms of looking at some articles, San Jose Spotlight cover this issue, and some of the other issues that are still out there are access to clean water, access to food, specifically hot meals, because not everyone, you know, groceries are great if you have a kitchen and a refrigerator, but if you don't, if you're in a hotel room or a shelter, you can't really use that. So access to hot meals, especially for families with kids, has been identified as an ongoing issue. Access to bathrooms, again, community centers and libraries are closed, so there's much fewer options for people. Places to charge electronics, not just cell phones, but also wheelchairs. The county has been distributing solar chargers, but it is still a concern. And then the last comment was just access to public meetings, that people who are homeless can't be on webinars, and it's just hard for them to share their, you know, to have their voice heard in, you know, because of the way that there aren't any public meetings at this time. So that sort of concludes kind of the summary of what different cities around the county are doing, some of which are state programs, and then some of the ongoing needs that, you know, that are still, you know, needing to be addressed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. You have any questions, Vice Mayor?
Questions and statements, but I'll go second. Mine
Okay.
might take a little bit longer than yours.
All right. So you mentioned that the homeless response efforts. So right now we're working with the county to look for spaces. Now, is that with also with the Milpitas Unified School District, or is that just us? And is it a task force? Is it a team? Who's on that? Who's
Sharon, do you want to, I think you're.
Yeah. So if you're referring to that county supervisor's proposal from last week,
yeah.
no, just county housing staff and our team. We just connected last week, and we're trying to find, a common date and time when we can start talking together. But, we basically already connected, say, yeah, we're going to be working together to look at alternative sites and do this research, to look at a variety of solutions and to find the best one that will be for our unhoused community.
Yeah, and I think the public already knows that we're not really happy that the county wants to put that homeless site right there at that prime commercial site. So that's good that we'll be looking for other spaces, but let's include the Milpitas Unified School District as well. And I like Vice Mayor's also his idea of using commercial space, or not idea, but and other cities using that as well. We do have a lot of empty commercial spaces that perhaps will suffice in looking for one of those sites to help our homeless population. So that's good.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Adam or Mr. Marcus. Good presentation.
Sure, no problem.
So if I may, thank you.
Good. Vice Mayor.
So I'm gonna, I think the chair was going down the right path. I know the county is looking for help in where they can find sites for homeless regionally. I understand that. I also watched what happened in San Jose, what happened in Palo Alto, I think it was, where communities came unglued at where sites were selected, and then things didn't appear there. So I am reluctant to have, first, I didn't know that, and I'm choosing my words carefully. I didn't know that our staff worked for county staff. I do believe we need to be working with the county staff, but I think it's at the direction of the city council. I think that the chair is correct that we need to be working with MUSD, but I think we also should be working with any government agency that has pieces of property here in Milpitas. When I say that, I know that VTA has property left over from building of BART and other transportation corridors. I know that Caltrans has some, MUSD has the most property. The water district does. And not that I have anything, I don't have a site in mind. I just think that you need to bring everybody to the table at one time. But we did talk about this as a council once, and our priority were the homeless families that attended MUSD. And if that's what we're still looking to do, then I think you're going to find MUSD as a willing partner in all of this. If we're going to change the focus, then we need to make sure those partners are on board and the community is involved somehow so that they're not caught by surprise. And as much as I have great faith in the staff, this is of such high profile that I'd want to hear from the city manager his direct involvement in this, because this is an issue that can get away from us very quickly, and it's our city that we're talking about. And when you talk regionally, I understand regional responsibilities. I just listened to the chair make some really good comments about where to be looking, how to be looking, how to deal with some of the major issues. So I don't want it to be done in a manner that she is drowned out by those persons that might also be at the table. So I I just want to make sure we don't casually pass over this. I think meeting with the county before we've had a discussion ourselves is premature. I think that there needs to be an opportunity to talk with, I think, MUSD first, if they still want to be partners and to have the students and families a high priority. That gives them opportunities to provide land, which is the most expensive part of all this. And that's what they have, land to give.
Well, maybe
that's
not
not
land, maybe not land to give, but they do have land.
That's right. They have land. That's right. Correct. Thank you for that correction.
Is that correct?
That's lease. That's right. That's right. But so I think it's a plan we're looking for. But since, and I believe in regionalization, but if it's going to be in this city, I would think that we would want to take a leadership role in that, or at least do it in a dual relationship with the county, as opposed to be led. That's my opinion. I don't mind the direction we're going in, but I think we have in our chair of this subcommittee a very committed, longtime resident, and in our chair that can send this and lead us in the direction we need to be so that everyone is heard. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With that, I'd like to create an ad
Can I
hoc.
jump in? Yeah,
Like with
sorry.
that, I'd like to
Thank you
create
for
an
the
ad hoc
comment.
committee. Let me finish. So with that, I'd like to create an ad hoc committee that would work with the city manager, the county, the subcommittee and staff working together, and MUSD to try to find some sites. And maybe, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that. And if you think that it's not a good idea, then we won't go there. Vice Mayor?
Sure, no, I think that's fine. I think you need somebody at the policy level involved, and I'll go in whatever direction you'd like to go.
Yeah, so county, MUSD, staff, and then this subcommittee
Yep.
to be on that ad hoc committee to work together in partnership to collaborate to try to find some solutions. Because
Correct.
what we don't want is that site to be used because that's a prime commercial site. Our
Correct.
city with the two dealerships there, it was a revenue generating commercial space. And it seems like the county it would behoove the county to not to use that for something else, but to use it as a revenue generating site. And that way, that money that they get, because I think we got almost $2 million in sales tax last year. So imagine the county could be putting $2 million in their coffers if they use that site smartly to generate revenue. So that way they can contribute it back to society, back to what their whole mantra is social services. So what we can do is help them find a site, because their whole goal is to find a site. And
Correct.
But please, not that site. We'll help you find another site. And this, I think that ad hoc committee can help in that.
I agree.
We can help.
Yeah.
Help. Okay, I'm sorry, Sharon, if you can continue.
Oh, yeah.
You were saying?
No, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, no, thank you for the comments, Councilmember Montano and Vice Mayor Nunes. Actually, yeah, we have been looking at, MUSD properties and also exploring the property that are owned by public agencies, like you've listed. There's Water District, VTA, and the City and County of San Francisco, and the county itself. So, we've been looking at that, and of course, we've been also collaborating and coordinating with the city manager's office, as well as our partners in economic development, as far as, looking at the property info for those sites. So we'll definitely be very proactive in this, ad hoc committee efforts and this task force effort to
And also
work with
in there,
the,
did you include commercial sites as well in there that are empty? There's a few, not a lot, but there's a few empty commercial sites that are here in town and nearby, in Berryessa and Milpitas. So, okay.
Yeah, there are undeveloped or vacant sites in the city. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll be exploring those as well. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, and even develop sites that are empty, that the businesses have moved out. So that might be another option too. Okay, and so
Okay.
now I know we're out of time, but do you want to keep going for this? Will this last item take much time on Sango?
It'll be very fast.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll be quick.
I recommend we continue then.
Okay, I'm fine.
All right. So
All right.
item D, Sango Court. You can give us an update.
Yes, thank you. Last year, in the fall, we had a series of meetings with the developer talking about the construction proposal. And at the October 29th Housing Subcommittee, we shared an update on that because they wanted to use modular housing for their construction. And they submitted their building permit package. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Did you say modular housing?
Modular housing, yes. That's prefabricated.
That wasn't the initial plan. So, okay,
Well,
keep
the
going.
entitlement plan, yeah, the type of construction was not, really part of that. That's
Oh.
typically addressed at the building permit stage,
Okay,
right?
Sharon,
Yeah, and I
could you-
think they're looking at,
go ahead,
Sharon, could you
Vice Mayor.
explain the construction type? I think that's where the confusion is, what that really
Yeah.
means. Thank you.
yeah, what I was about to explain. So with modular construction, you can prefabricate some of these units offsite. So there's a factory portion versus a site build portion, we need to review. And then there's, the assembly of that on the site itself. So the interconnection process, between all the systems and the structural systems. That's where our building safety team, will be working with the developer and the contractor closely. So last fall, a lot of the discussion was all on that process. And now, they've submitted for the building permit at the end of the year to get under the code cycle. So we're reviewing this building permit right now, and the estimated construction start is November this year. Yes, and once they start construction, we could schedule like tours for the subcommittee and council members as well, so we can see the modular construction, the assembly of that taking place at the site. And just a little bit.
Go ahead, keep going. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Are we the only city that has modulars? Because I know that with that Measure A funds, a lot of cities have already been, they have already have their housing up and running and successfully, I might add. So are we the only city that has modulars?
We're not the only city. In my two prior cities, yes, we've seen those as well.
So that other cities have the modular structures.
Correct.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, I just asked, let's see, I don't know how to, let me get.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Alex.
I put my, my virtual hand up. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
get it.
no, it's okay. I wanted to just clarify, I just want to be sure that everybody understands, especially people that are listening in, that when we're talking about modular construction, it's just a type of construction, but not to be confused with modular trailers or temporary units of some type. There are many projects. I know I even worked on some projects in San Jose that come in modular. They're modular in the sense that, as Sharon was pointing out, parts of these buildings are constructed off-site, and then they come onto the site and they're built. Then the building is built based on these modular pieces. So once the building is done, it doesn't appear modular, but in fact, the way it was constructed is much of it is off-site. So the project that you saw that was entitled, and you were thinking in your mind, you're thinking, oh, that was a building and that's how we entitled it. That is exactly what you're going to have in the end. The way it's built is much of it's built off-site. That's the term modular. So I hope that clarifies for anybody listening in on what we're talking about here.
Oh yeah, that was good clarification. Thank you. Proceed.
All right. So just kind of a little bit on the final building configuration, and as you've heard from Steve, in the final exterior of the building, you cannot tell it's modular construction. That's all during the construction phase where you'll see these units being assembled together. But the final buildings will be 5 stories, 4 stories of the dwelling unit over 1 story of garage, along with their community rooms and offices. And this is that project that will have 102 total units. It's 101 affordable with 1 manager's unit. So we're looking forward to getting this started, the construction toward the end of the year.
Great.
That's
great.
my update. Thank you.
And so is there going to be some type of childcare center in there? Because you know how there's with these moderate income that they usually provide a childcare center in there? Or no, there's no room for that?
I believe they talked about community rooms. I'll look at the building permit plans more closely to see how they have labeled the uses of the rooms.
Okay.
But I know they have a community room, yes. And I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, and if they use it as a community room, can it be converted into a childcare center? I'm not sure. Okay. But anyway, I'm glad that it's going to start next year because we've been waiting for that for quite a while. I'm glad. Okay, anything else? Vice Mayor, do you have any comments, questions?
Nope, I'm fine.
Okay. Anything from staff? Anything else? Comments, questions?
No.
Okay.
I think
All
that's
right.
it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for a great meeting. Thank you for that really important information. And you're doing a great job. And all of the city council is so, we're thankful that you're here doing all this hard work for the citizens of Milpitas. And thank you.
Yes, we
With
are.
that, and thank you. We are adjourning at what time is it right now?
5:21.
5:21. All right, everybody stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
Yes,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.